Okay, and we're live. Welcome.
We're live.
Yeah, welcome to episode 3 of the Microbial Secret Society.
Aloha. Welcome.
Yeah. So I've been doing a bunch last couple days to get ready for episode 3 and or actually getting ready for our launch of our podcast. I've been really excited about this project actually.
You've been really excited about this project?
Yeah. Yeah. Telling people about the secret society and letting people know about this microbial world is I'm excited, man.
To dive deeper into the microbial world?
Yeah, yeah. Well, more. I mean, but also in the macro world too, right? Because it's microbes wanting these things, but it's the people that we need to use the tools.
People utilizing the tools?
Yeah. So like making this podcast here as is gives people another tool they can use to incorporate the microbes into their lives and to be better stewards of the secret society.
To become, better stewards of the land and observers of nature?
Yeah. Yeah. And in their own life, that's what excites me.
In their own life? Seeing people like apply and learn, and it's like a big, learning and transforming process. Having fun and learning about the indigenous microorganisms.
Yeah, and spreading it like today making this podcast, getting it ready, but then today I went to Hawaiian Sanctuary and I taught a course to 50 to 60 people. That some of them this was their first time having exposure to the secret society.
So you just taught a class at the Hawaiian Sanctuary, and exposed like 50 to 60 people to the secret society.
Yeah, but I didn't tell them. I didn't tell them till like the last minute. Like after I finished talking about microbes for about 3 hours and biostimulants and microorganisms, kind of the foundations of Korean natural farming. And then at the end, I was like, "And welcome to the secret society." And then someone asked me, "Do you have a podcast?" And I was like, "Yes." It launches tomorrow, which is July 26th, 2019, right? I was like, it felt so good to say, yes, I do have a podcast. Even though it's not out yet. Like
It felt good to be a part of a podcast that is sharing, truth about the soil and healing the earth with.
yeah.
Yeah.
And to have someone come out to see me for 3 hours, not knowing what they were gonna get, and then at the end of it ask me, "Do I have more material? How can they get the next thing? What's like they want more of this? Like the secret society is actually so alluring. They're like, how can I get more of this?" I was like, well, we have microbialsecret.org I put up. Spent all week launching that website, buying the domain, all this whole stuff. I learned how to be an audio engineer. And now people can go there and click on it and find the next thing. And the great thing about it though is the first hour is free.
Yeah, you can tune in. Anyone has the opportunity to listen to the first hour, and if feel inspired to learn more, then can tune in to the second hour.
The second hour, which so I wanted to talk to you about some of my friends. One of my friends, Ben Klenner, had the Probiotic Life, and it was a podcast. And then you also had Bee Programming, and that was like a podcast of sorts. Like, although you went through Facebook, and then there's all these podcasts and these things we do. But what I was thinking, what excites me about this one is from the beginning, I thought about how to make a product and how to make it sustainable. But I still also get to uphold my values of like giving away the first hour free, getting it out to as many people as possible, But I think with this one of having the second hour where it's only for members, it actually is like this incentive that people get a higher quality product because they're contributing to it.
Yeah, they're able to support it and see it grow and contribute to its growth.
And there's a clear way to support it for this podcast. Like from the get go, we're saying, okay, first hour is free, second hour is members only, and that's that membership that we can grow from the beginning. That I think will set this endeavor on the right path. And that's why I've also been stoked to put energy into this, because I feel like this thing could really sustain me if we build this secret society correctly, and we include people correctly, because it's all of our community members joining this podcast and joining the secret society and interacting. I mean, they're already in it, but to refine it, and that I think that this can be a viable thing that can set us as content creators and explorers in this realm on a sustainable path. So you and I can continue to do this. We can get guests on the show. We can really churn out a quality product time after time. My dad asked me the other day. I was riding in the car with him, and he said, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast with David, and we've recorded 2 episodes, and he's like, you can talk about microbes for that long? And he honestly, yeah, he looked at me and he was like, and I was like, bro, because we're already 4 hours into this, right? I mean, people that aren't members are only 2 hours in, but the true members are at least 4 hours and it's 6 minutes into this, and so, but I want to go deep, man. We got years, and I was thinking all the things we can talk about, like water and electricity and spirituality, love, holding our seed, all kinds of like esoteric and microorganism and just bio life things that we can do. And this is just one way that if we have a, a, a way, like a microbial membership, a way for people to empower us as content creators or explorers, or like the initiators or the hosts of the microbial secret society. Think of what we can do. And so that's why I was really excited this week. I spent a lot of time, and when I mean a lot of time, I mean a lot of time working on this.
Yeah, you seem to put a lot of energy and time into this project, and yeah, I feel inspired to put more energy into it as well. It's just I need to stop looking at time as something that I manage, and it's something like you create, so you can create the time to do.
Time is, and you gotta put yourself in the right way to be a conduit to make the divine's plan manifest through you, and be open to it, and be receptive, and also be an integral part of that. But dealing with a lot of tasks and prioritizing things and really figuring out all those what do you call those things?
Priorities.
Yeah.
Priorities and intentions. Yeah. And what I found helps is writing intentions down and writing goals down. But yeah, looking at it kind of multiple times a day, and then kind of logging things.
I think that can work. Sometimes I find myself, and I put whiteboards up, and then I'll look at the whiteboard, and the task has been on there for so long that the dry erase marker no longer works. It's kind of melted on there. And so sometimes I'll find, even though I do try to prioritize myself, I'll just ignore it and not even pay attention to what is really right in front of me. I get obsessed on projects and pour a lot of energy into certain things, and will sure neglect others right in front of me. Things that I should easily do. I watched a bunch of bananas kind of go from being too unripe to going ripe to kind of rotting this week. But I'm going to turn them into fermented plant juice. And it was too many bananas for me to eat. But had I been able to manage that situation better and interact with the microbes better, I could have monopolized on that, or realized more of its value. because it took a lot for the whole secret society to produce that rack of bananas. All the soil microbes, all those the plant microbes, all those things in the bananas.
So you're talking about like you wish you would have fermented them when they were ripe.
Oh, I'm saying if I had dealt with them when they're ripe, maybe I could have given them to all the protectors up on the Mauna.
Do you want to try? Oh, I see. You could have given them. Yeah. Would you want to try some ripe?
Banana plant juice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm gonna make more of it because now the bananas are in that scenario. What I'm saying is priorities, like certain things I work on, other things I could have maybe value added those bananas better.
Mm.
Now my only choice is to make banana plant juice from it. Like make a fermented plant juice and engage those microbes, or I could compost it. Or there's a lot of things I could do, but the time's passed from it being like prime to eat. There's already
Mm.
like some little few bugs landing in them, and I watched all that happen though. Is what I'm saying.
You observe the cycle of the banana from like unripe, like from cakey to unripe to fruiting to kind of rotting, and but now being able to be transformed into still a medicine and a food for the medicine for ourselves and food for the microbes in the secret society.
Yeah, well, at each of those levels, the secret society engaging in the process, recognizing that, watching it grow, which most people don't see, but watching it also then just like harvest a rack of bananas, cut it down, and then watch it kind of go and ripen on my deck as I was sitting there working on this podcast. And instead of like taking and like going and selling the bananas or doing something with them, I sat there to like work on technology in this like matrix mind hive hole to get this podcast out to people. And those bananas, now my only choice is to ferment them because they're starting to naturally ferment and turn
Mm-hmm.
to, you know. But if I add sugar, I can value add it. And I guess what I'm trying to say is now that's all I can do besides let them rot. And I don't want them to rot
Mm-hmm.
because it took so much energy to produce those bananas and they're beautiful. So I'm gonna make a fermented plant juice. But it's that priorities and at what point, as the bananas are going through their life cycle, am I gonna decide to prioritize those bananas? Do I want to
Mm-hmm.
eat them? Do I want to make banana bread? Do I want to freeze them? Do I want to dehydrate them? Do I just want to let them rot? And each stage I can engage and
And add
change
value.
and then yeah, add value to myself and others, and then change the way it affects the secret society.
Mm.
Was it of benefit to me and everyone around me, my society, my indigenous culture? Or did I just let it rot and then it kind of just, the gases escaped and that all that creative energy that formed that banana was lost because I didn't prioritize it right? And coming into life and priorities at that level, besides just things we should do.
Yeah, but also, what if it's in an abundant state where there's just so many bananas where, you know, in nature, if there was just like a banana forest, there would just be constantly be racks ripening and
Yeah.
kind of.
I think if we think like that and we try to prioritize our time to make that reality the one that we merge with, those are good priorities. I want to move towards the abundance prioritization.
Abundance prior, yeah, making abundance a priority.
Yeah, yeah, and as rapidly as I can. Which I don't know if letting the bananas rot this week was that. It's hard to say, right? Maybe I should have gone and sold them. Maybe I should have eaten them. Maybe I should have froze them all. But instead, I'm gonna make plant juice, and I love it. And I'm gonna use it to flavor my drinks later, and it's just fine. It's all.
So that's interesting because it was, yeah, there's a rack of bananas here where we were recording, and and it kind of, well, yeah, here, and yeah, as it was ripening, I was like hoping that it, like, with the full intention of making a fermented fruit juice out of it with the ripe banana.
What happened to it? It's no longer here. Where'd it go?
It's in that jar.
Oh, you did turn it into a ferment then. Cool. Cool. Yeah, that's a. I think it's a really good use that a lot of people don't think of. People think of rotten fruit and they think of composting it, right? But instead, what we're doing is we're adding brown sugar to it. And do you want to kind of describe the process of how you deal with that stuff?
Describe the process of how to.
How those bananas got from hanging up here to where they are now.
So yeah, when the bananas were harvested, they're grown in Lapa Hoi Hoi, a Namwa variety.
Which is about 30, 40 miles from here.
Hmm.
And then Namwa is a Thai banana. So it's traveled quite a ways in its lifetime.
Wow.
Mind blown, huh?
So yeah, but I mean, ideally, you would for like harvest the plant material in the early morning before the sun rises, and particularly the day after the final full moon phase. Um, 2 days after is the beginning of the Laau days, which would be the time where the moon is ripe to harvest and prepare medicinal herbs and gather the plant material. And
Yeah, I can tell by the way you're talking that it's a very thoughtful process and that you spend a lot of care and attention because it seems to me like you're very slow saying what you what you're saying there.
very slow, yeah. Putting thought and intention, yeah, into the process, and you can harvest flowers.
We had some of your plumeria today, by the way.
Really?
Yes, David made a plumeria plant juice and still good after it was like a year ago at least.
It's so good?
Yep.
What?
And I gave it to about 50 people today, and they got to drink the essence of flowers. The plumeria is super aromatic.
Yeah, it tastes like it smells. It's really interesting. If
Yeah,
that's possible. So yeah. So you tasted the plumeria, and some people s- claim that the plumeria is like poisonous, but when it goes through the fermentation process, I don't know, it doesn't really have that kind of quality to it.
a lady today said, "Isn't it poisonous?" And then I mentioned to her, I was like, "Isn't Fukushima poisonous? Like the nuclear reactor that we uh, so conveniently forgot and let it overheat and now burned a hole into the earth." And so, although maybe those aren't completely related, but and that wasn't the exact same time, but I always love when people talk about things and the microorganisms and they can transform these things that may be poisonous or radioactive and bring them back into stasis and compatible for life again.
Compatible for life.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, I gotta make sure I'm talking into this thing. I don't know. Looking at the recording levels.
yeah, talking into it. But yeah, when you can you can ferment flowers or ripe or unripe fruits or new shoots of grasses or vines.
And you're making green grass from heaven, right? Green juice from heaven is what it's called.
Green juice from heaven, from the character that it came over with through the It's like a. It's kind of. I think the one character is like Tien,
Tien.
Tien,
Tien.
Tien, which is like the creative. Um, it's like it's an understanding that the creative energy is like, and the creator is like all around, and the when you loamy loamy and ferment the plant material with the sugar, um,
Yeah.
it is able to like transform, and that's like the life mana energy of the creative within the plant, and then it's able to go through this fermentation process where the microbes are growing and expanding and evolving, and then being able to feed that back to the earth. So it's like a gourmet medicinal, yeah, meal.
So you're saying the microbiome is receiving a gourmet medicinal meal, or they're preparing that for the land?
Well, the human would be like preparing the fermentation, but I think the microbes would be like eating it.
I think. Well, yeah. Obviously, I mean, life the whole way through, right? Would be eating it. I like that. I like that idea, though. The Qian, the creative, that's kind of like this heavenly um, force that's spoken of as like in the fermentation process. How is that involved?
How is that involved? Like it being like these many parcels or pieces of like of the divine, and then in each living thing, and then that is that energy is what's in the plant through the fermentation, and then the energy is growing and evolving, and then it's being able to be the creative is being able to go back into the earth through that process.
So the Qian is where is it's generated during fermentation, or where is it like
The whole process.
is Qian? So the action is what creates the creative. So if there's no action, it wouldn't be Qian, but it's this action of how it's being renewed and or made available to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you think the microbes generate this Qian?
Do the microbes? It would be like all. I think it's like all of life has that energy.
So what I was thinking, because I what I understand what's happening, the Qian that you talk about is like this infrared energy, and what I call that is like the it's bandwidth, and it's the energy of love, the Qian, and you can generate it like for us, like it's that warm feeling in your heart,
Mm, yeah, the warm feeling inside.
and that itself is actually the Qian. And so what you're getting is like this measurable infrared bandwidth that then can be like amplified into other signals in other ways, but it's like measurable in the warmth of love.
It's measurable in the warmth of love.
Right. So yeah, like you're um like microbes in the secret society are entering into this lodge, this temple that you've built, which is like your vessel, you're using like a jar, and you're gonna mix these microbes with sugar, and then you're gonna put them into the temple, which is like the vessel, and then they're gonna start to love with one another because there's all this food and it's a new environment, and they're that Qian, that measurable infrared is what I'm talking about. The like so God is love in a certain sense, like that creative, the creative force is love, and it's these beings or these microbes that somehow have polarity that are stimulating each other.
Yeah, microbes with polarity that are kind of interacting and allowing them to transform and grow.
I think that's what we're talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like yeah, like the male female principle that like is this equal opposite yin yang, that all the conditions become perfect in your vessel, and then that then triggers love to happen, which is like a manifestation of God or Qian. Or is the Qian there and then the other happens? Like which is kind of first? Like where is the love? Is it in the microbes and that biological thing? Like where is the Qian? What is the source of it? Is I guess what I'm looking at.
What is the source of that like warmth energy?
Yeah. Well, what is the thing you're calling Qian? Is Qian a warmth energy?
I don't know if it's a warmth energy. I think it's just like the creative energy of the universe in smaller pieces experienced in all things and all beings.
That's Qian. So his well, because what I'm trying to get at is like because Qian is not your term, right? It's like a well-known term. And what I guess what I'm trying to continue to probe is like I want to see how perhaps like this is a word for like microbes or like a phenomenon that the microbes are creating that we've conveniently called Qian for like millennia, but maybe it's a microbial phenomenon that's happening that we're just not, like that's why I'm asking. I'm just probing to find out what this Qian is. Like what is the source? Because like it because maybe it's biological. Maybe it's part of the secret society. Like Qian is one of the keys that.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So it's gr- green juice from heaven, and it's like that manifestation of the of that love. Yeah, it's just like the plants are love because they're growing and evolving, and then when the like human like interacts with the plant in nature and gives the love through the process and intention of making fermented plant juice or yeah, Okalani, juice of the heavens, maybe. Um, and then being able to feed that back to the earth because it's like the soil and the land that is depleted needs that love and intention. So if someone is intentionally preparing this for the earth and then is going through this process of observation and then feeds it back to the earth, um, I feel like it's gonna allow. It's like feeding the secret society or feeding all your family members or friends. Like being able to have food, real food, like in abundance, indefinitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're gonna get positive feedback loops of that food gaining in nutrition and gaining in more microorganisms and gaining in its ability to harmonize with the rest of the whole system because it's actually part of it and cycling, right? So I like the idea of turning things into ferments and those the fermented plant juice like you said, or what do you say, Vikalani, like that would translate to
Biokalani?
is that what you said? What does that mean?
It's just a limited understanding. Like I think like juice or like water essence from the heavens.
Yeah. So that's like the level you'd put this solution that you're working with, that you're eating, that you're ingesting, is like something that's like from the heavens almost. Like that
Yeah,
sounds.
yeah. I mean, Hawaii is so beautiful, and it truly is. There's no separation within nature, it's all the like a garden in a sense. It's just that some parts of the garden are in harmony and balance, and maybe some aren't. And um, yeah,
What do you mean by harmony and balance?
what do I mean by harmony and balance?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean those terms like both yeah, harmony and balance are like we throw those around as like these conditions, but what to you, like if you say the island's not in those, that obviously means it has some um, distinction to you of what it is.
Well, I guess I couldn't really. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like harmony and balance is like an inner state of peace, and having peace within yourself creates like the ability to, yeah, experience with and without. And yeah, what comes to mind is like going to native ohia trees that are thriving and growing and don't have any like invasive species really, or fire ants, or more just like wild and old, and then being able to collect and preserve that biology, and then apply that on areas where the perceived like rapid ohia death is taking place.
So a healthy environment to you is where it is more long term, like enduring long, because you're saying the ohias have been there for a long time, but now there's rapid ohia death. So that indicates that the harmony and balance has been lost because it's a rapid changing situation.
Maybe. Yeah, it's just every time I like look at an ohia that like, could just need some IMOs and, some fermented plant juice from heaven and, a little seawater, and, you keep giving it more and more love. I guess that's just like how much love are you willing to give to the earth. And um yeah, I taught a workshop last weekend in Hilo, and this auntie was talking about like the divine and the feminine and the divine masculine, and how the masculine will like give to the feminine, but the feminine will receive and then like like multiply it, and like transform it exponentially, kind of. She gave like the analogy of, if you give like your wife some food, she's gonna transform that into like a beautiful meal that can like feed so many. Or if, yeah, she also gave the analogy of like, if the male gives the seed to the female and the female is able to give a child, it's like that's like exponentially like way crazy, like kind of, yeah.
So like the yin yang, the male female polarity, giving way to growth and expansion and more, and like I mean that's like trade and the like. So I don't know. I mean, I think everything is kind of both, because we're just talking about stasis being out of harmony, and now you're talking about how if these things are actually like together, then they're making more. So yeah, I don't know. These are like super in-depth topics to talk about, I guess.
They're pretty in depth.
Well, like if you could spend all day saying like more of this, and then you could spend the next day saying less of this, and in both cases you're like correct.
And that would be finding the balance, like more or less, and then kind of, yeah, riding that wave.
Well, that's it. Riding the wave, and that's it. Is like that is it. Like it's never one way or the other. You're always in this like flux, and that's kind of like I don't know. I guess understanding the secret society is always in that flux and is always changing. Like they're constantly geoengineering the planet. Like we tend to think of the planet being like stable in certain ways, and maybe it is, but that they're also changing it. Like did you know microbes can pull DNA in and out of things?
Microbes can pull DNA in and out of things.
Yeah, like a bacteria can do like genetic modification.
Why? Like, what do you mean? Like, so the bacteria is choosing to genetically modify another organism?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
They'll swap like a set of genetics in and out and do GMOs long before us humans have. And so what I'm saying is they're able to like directly work with the microbiome and the change that they're able to make, even though we see this stability or like certain things, they're constantly changing it.
Hmm. Constantly changing the microbiology on the earth.
As much as humans change it with our GMOs.
So it's like as much as it's changing, it needs to be preserved.
But that's it. It's like that's what I'm saying. Like this order, chaos, this like steady, this changing, this like preserving change. Like it's a very it's like it's a challenging subject to try to figure out what to do.
I think it starts with washing rice.
Well, just I think well mimicking nature, right? And you're gonna talk about a recipe that like maximizes, like not just mimics, but like is like an optimal way of mimicking it.
Of mimicking nature.
Right. Like you're gonna set out some starch, right? Which starch is a classic like food for microbiology. That's why nature makes starch, rice wash water, right? I mean, that's just one way of making starchy water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the go-to food for almost all beings. Humans, cows, we all eat carbs, right? I don't know if there's an animal that doesn't eat just starch water. Like even microbes love that stuff, right?
Do owls?
Owls like starch water? I don't know. We'll have to ask them. Hoot hoot. Hoot.
Aloha poya.
Who has an owl out there that can ask? I imagine if you made the starch water and you fermented it into some sweet drink, the owls would dig it. Owls would get down on your lactobacillus ferment.
Yeah, just feeding the owls the fermentation. Really have this dream of like being able to steward owls and like poyos.
You've
And
had this for a while, yeah.
yeah, with like IMOs and stuff and no smell and yeah, just like a sanctuary for poyos that just yeah want to eat fermented foods and like heal and
I mean, from what I know, I use it for the chickens. My chickens are amazing. I don't know about owl. Like I see owls at the zoo, so I know they keep them in confinement. But I imagine, you know, owls want to be a owl behavior. Probably up at night, eating rats and stuff. But you could ferment it all, and it'd be yeah, fine.
you just yeah ferment the rats.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. But you could put rat amino acid in their food and supplement them when they looked a little down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you find a pueo that's injured and needs to be boosted back up, you give it rat amino acid. Mouse amino acid.
Mouse amino acid.
Yeah, I think you'd have those pueos in no time back into flying shape and keeping our island rat population in check.
Yeah. Stewarding the boyos.
So what about that dream? Like where are you in terms of
Where am I in terms of like from from where I sit to experiencing that in the physical reality?
sure. Oh yeah, you made the rest of that sentence up, so you can answer that one.
I mean, yeah, I guess just like building a little like hale with a roof and like a little setup where like what if the owl had the ability to be free and go fly, but it also had a place where it could like kind of chill and be protected from the rain and just had like an IMO, like just inoculate it and feed it like uh maybe not like a super deep litter system, but
Yeah, I would think right now that like everything in the world is pointing towards this happening.
you think so?
Yeah, yeah. Pueos, in fact, are flying this direction right as we speak.
They're flying here?
Well, they're flying this direction somewhere in the world. I
Mm-hmm.
bet you there's an owl flying towards us right now.
It's a good thing to imagine.
Yeah, we were imagining last night how busy the world is. All kinds of things happening right at this moment. But staying focused on the Pueo house, the healing sanctuary for them. Putting up the creating the environment. I think that's the key and having enough food for them. Anything like from the
Mm-hmm.
microbes to the Pueos to anything.
Yeah, being able to feed. So if you're able to, like, if you have all this extra energy and time where you're able to wake up early in the morning and have that mana, and then you feed that back to the earth, and then what Auntie was saying is that the way she perceives the natural farming in the secret society is that by a person stewarding the earth and feeding these natural solutions to them, it's like feeding Mother Earth or the feminine. And she said she mentioned the words like Kane and Vahini, Vahini, and yeah, and then saying that by feeding the earth these solutions, or feeding the secret society these solutions, that it's going to be like the mother will always provide back. The feminine will always create more like like a tenfold, 100-fold exponential growth of that energy that was given by the action of the masculine. The masculine being the act of like energy forward.
Yeah, I see that as like that's a solid principle. If you're and also if you're understanding that from someone who use like Hawaiian language and the Hawaiian concepts, um, those concepts from my understanding are very worldly known and very esoteric and not necessarily like Hawaiian this or that or like any ownership on them, but the way they are with the Hawaiian language itself related to like vibrational and or like we were talking last time about the root sound or maybe even the first time we are talking about huna
The root
or
sound?
mauna.
Mauna, yeah.
Yeah, but though having these you're learning from an auntie who's talking about like kane for instance, and like that's a Hawaiian deity. But then more than that, it's like a concept. It's like an archetype that Hawaiians are recognizing enough to put into their like trifold of gods. And so she was talking to you about that in like relating that to natural farming.
Re- yeah, relating on back to natural farming, specifically what I was demonstrating or reflecting to the through the secret society, basically just you know inviting someone to check out the secret society.
So you're saying like as you were demonstrating like plant juice or some like that recipe, right?
It was basically the goals for the gathering were to make two types of medicines. So the fermented plant juice, green juice from heaven, and water soluble calcium for fruiting of plants, and then how to kind of collect microbiology and how to like a real short overview of different natural farming solutions, foods, medicines, minerals, probiotics, all these different things, and then showing how it's applied foliarly to a garden weekly, and then yeah.
And then how far into this this like lecture or lesson or thing where you're talking about natural farming from like this
Oh, this.
farming
Oh,
thing to when she like made this spiritual connection and or like brought this same concept that you're teaching and then elaborated this other way.
it was after we finished with the workshop, and it was during the potluck. And it was just a conversation between her and I.
So more by herself she was kind of relating to what you were talking about that was like man that's like the kind of the stuff right there.
Yeah,
Interesting. So I think in the secret society we're talking about it's actually pretty open. But then this it turns out it's actually like indigenous and like really ancient and really old. This same stuff we're talking about, but we're actually talking about like god forms and these other things. But I come at understanding this from like a computer scientist of biology and engineering and chemistry, and then now all of a sudden I'm understanding like Kane, which is like a god of people, indigenous people. But we're really what I'm it's just like this secret society that I've stumbled into that maybe now it's like we're initiates of these deeper nobler truths that are when I say noble I mean like stability of like a noble gas, but like these truths that are self-evident within indigenous cultures that we're talking about it as agriculture or probiotics for our guts or healing the soil or restoring the fish. But now we're also getting to this level of talking about spirituality and like soul redemption and like what the real deal of what's up with this life.
the real so finding more purpose within life by recognizing your role within the secret society.
Well, what I'm saying is like perhaps in certain religious bodies for different greed reasons or this or that, those things may have lost their purity, that we've rediscovered this same thing that those like these secret teachings that she has or the genealogical teachings, we've come to this through understanding biology and the secret society being microbes, but then we're speaking the same language as somebody who's talking about like what was previously considered like invisible, like not real gods or from a Western mind frame.
So you're perceiving like the Kane forces or energy as like being a part of the microbial activity that is naturally happening in the forest.
Is that's what I'm trying to get at? Was she saying that? I mean, is that how she's kind of relating it?
Maybe.
Because something in there triggered her to talk more about like this gods or this genealogy or this way from the information where you're presenting from this like um, this understanding of the secret society that's like, oh well, they're microbes. And someone else is like, well, they're kind of hidden, invisible thing, like Holy Spirit, like God said He would come. And you're like, well, it's microbes, and we're just like making a bold declaration that like to take like some of these figurative spiritual concepts and to really anchor them into real life. Like, what are you initiated into? It's like knowledge of the secret society, which is microorganisms. Versus like, oh yeah, like I know the Holy Spirit, it came and touched me. It's like, well, maybe, right? Well, what I'm saying is like the more microbes I get on me, the more I can change my vibration and actually tune into these cosmic energies, which are like Holy Spirits.
Mm.
The microbes are these this not that they themselves are the Holy Spirit, but they're a conduit for it.
Yeah, they're different. Like the TN, they're different pieces of it. Because there's all these different microbes.
Well, that our communion with God is this energy, this consciousness. But as we become more biologically attuned to like sacred geometry and integrity and different things, then we can manifest that energy into this reality.
Mm. Yeah, being more intentional with our actions and our breath, because it's like, yeah, the breath that you just had, that was important, but it's not as important as the next breath.
Well, some people just get into breathing and breath in that, and it's important. But what I'm saying is like directly talking about I'm breathing because I'm trying to support the microbes that are living within me. Like
Mm.
in my brain right now, I'm thinking via fermentation. There's that's why if oxygen gets cut off to my head, it's not good because the, my brain produces vinegar. That's the process of thinking makes vinegar. But if you have fermentation without oxygen, you get alcohol, and alcohol will pickle your brain and kill you. You get alcohol poisoning. But the vinegar, a little bit of it's okay in your brain, and there's actually like mechanisms to clean the vinegar out of your head constantly, like as a byproduct of thinking. So I'm actually fermenting. So even my cosmic, like my conscious, like what I think is me, it's actually microbes in this secret society.
It's like, yeah, so many microbes in the secret society, and it's just, but it's coming through as experiencing as a individual, but it's really like a whole collective.
Yeah, like me, I'm a collective of microbes that receive this cosmic energy. And it's good because the human structure is this big, large, sacred geometry structure. And then all these tiny microbes ride on that to like enjoy this cosmic energy that they can vibe off of, which is turns out to part of it's infrared, like that heat energy that I was talking about. But they are all riding together, and that's like what gives me the consciousness and thinking and thoughts. And
Yeah, it's kind of yeah, not intense, but it's kind of deep.
well, yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to say is the more research I go into, like, because I've kind of made some bold claims, like, oh, this is a secret society, these are the secret chiefs. But the more we talk about it and these concepts are explored, it seems like other folks are resonating with it.
Yeah. The receptive, the creative, receptive to the creative.
Yeah, and that they're being concept like are being developed, and like you'll find like even let's take Krishna and Narayan and like the idea of the cow being sacred. And it turns out the cow and lactobacillus and the milk, like the secret society, the cult of the cow, which is the lactobacillus, like this hidden microbe that symbiotically lives with it, turns out to be really beneficial. So their god, like their Krishna, like keeping cows and all these stories actually have a lot to do with like microorganisms.
Because it's the microbes that are in the cow that allows for that abundance to kind of unfold.
And back in the day, they anthropomorphized the microbe as like Krishna, as this savior thing that comes and like dances and heals the world, and it's like a microorganism.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it says in the Bhagavad Gita that like Krishna is like as small as like a 10,000th of a piece of hair. And it's like I don't know what size that is, but it's like makes me think of a microbe.
Yeah,
But it could also be, you know, this bigger organism as well. But that's just the collection of the micro forming the macro.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think if you start to reevaluate those ancient texts with the understanding of the secret society, with the understanding of like maybe Krishna was a microbe.
Yeah.
La-
Was it one mic? But that's the thing. It's like micro. There's like billions of them. So are they all like one? Is it like a school of fish? Like they're all moving as like one, and it's like they're individual fish or individual microbes, but they're moving in like a towards God or good orderly direction.
I think it can change. Like it could like so there was a thing on the earth called the Great Oxygenation Event. Do you
The
know?
great oxygenation event.
Yeah, if you read Wikipedia and you look at it, you'll see throughout the Earth's history they talk about this thing called the Great Oxygenation Event. And it was early in the Earth's history that life was already forming, and then cyanobacteria figure like all of a sudden started producing oxygen as their byproduct. They turned sunlight, and then their byproduct was oxygen. Cyanobacteria started to grow, and they put oxygen into the atmosphere. And all the life that was growing previous to this was anaerobic. And so almost all the life living on Earth, all of a sudden there's oxygen everywhere, and it just died from from the cyanobacteria, which were very popular, and they grew and all. And then now the whole Earth is now oxygenated, and all life subsequently after that we know is like lives is pretty much is aerobic, meaning grows with oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
But just one microbe came and changed the whole ecosystem.
One microbe. That's why it's like it's really interesting being able to like trying to perceive it as like a single microbe or a single being.
But that's what I'm saying with a single being. Like imagine a space rock came in it and it had some microbe on it that changed that liquefied something or whatever, changed, released some gas or whatever, we don't know. And it came and it landed here, and it was able to live, and then it's completely terraformed our environment by releasing a different type of gas. Like say it releases like neon gas or something. And then all of a sudden like it just is really good at that, and all of a sudden now this whole earth doesn't, our whole biology shifts because of one thing to come. And what I'm saying is this can happen that way, where like something comes and shifts it to be incompatible for life.
Hmm.
But in this case of Krishna, if it is lactobacillus, and like it's actually like it shifted it for human life. Like imagine you didn't have lactobacillus and you were.
So are you saying that humans can't survive, or like planet Earth can't survive in without cows?
Well, we're in the Milky Way, so we have to have
So
not
there's
not
cows on like planets nearby.
not cows necessarily, but mammals, things with mammaries. Like we're humans, we have mammaries, we have the nipples, right? The like rats and the things have milk, and goats and sheep and pigs, and the animals that we have around, they're mammals. So not cows, just mammals in general. Cows are just happen to be very productive at it. So it's not that we need the cow specifically, but that this part of the Milky Way is with mammals is it's a I think that's what's happened to us. That's why there was different ages. Like when the dinosaurs were alive, it was a microbe that favored reptiles.
Hmm.
And now it's a microbe that favors mammals and milk.
All right, and that's it for our free episode. If you want to catch the full episode, go to microbialsecret.org and join the Microbial Secret Society. Thanks, and we'll catch you next week. Aloha.